Zero magazine recently stated, if she doesn't initially win you over with her looks, you'll definitely fall victim to Tara Tinsley's infectious voice and sound. We certainly found that out when the self-confessed tomboy dropped into our Nashville studios to share her thoughts on her recent move to Nashville and all that lies ahead for the Michigan native. I'm Kane Harrison, and this is Emerging Artists.
Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.
Thank you so much for dropping by the Talkopolis studios. Really happy to have you here. Let's talk about how you sort of made your journey. You were born in Michigan, first and foremost, and then made your move across the West Coast in California and recently to Nashville. But let's go back to Michigan and sort of what made you move across to California in the first place.
Well, I grew up in this really small town of Pinckney, Michigan, 1,500 people. It was actually a village. So, I mean, there's not much opportunity there. And I felt like Michigan in general is not a big music place. And I wanted to pursue music and do something with that. And, you know, when you're out here, you think, California, you need to go to California. And it's warm there, and it's just, you dream about it. So, I don't know, I just decided at first to move to LA, but when I was graduating high school, my dad got laid off from his job. And so he ended up finding a job in the Northern California, in Livermore, California. And so I decided to hop on that and go out there, so I didn't have to pay for rent. So.
Yeah, cool. So I guess for a while then you based your music career out of LA, or California more likely. So what's the music scene like out there for the people in Nashville? I mean, who probably don't venture out there so much. What's it like out there compared to here?
Well, I mean, Northern California is awesome because there's still a community for musicians like there is here. Northern California musicians, they get together and they help each other, and I really like that. You can make money a lot easier there than you can here.
Really?
But I mean, Nashville is more like LA. You can't really make money there. So, I mean, I didn't spend too much time down in LA. But Northern California, it's great, you know. It's a great community, and as a musician, it's good to have friends having your back, you know?
Yeah, I bet. And I imagine like the lifestyle must really affect your songwriting, I guess. I mean, you're a self-taught guitarist, so at some stage you decide I'm going to pick up the guitar and start playing that. What age was that?
About 14, I'd say. Something like that.
So then I guess the influences of being out on the West Coast, I mean, and now in Nashville, most people would think that there is such a dramatic difference. And I know that Nashville isn't specifically country, very much singer-songwriter orientated. But I feel like you've got kind of a beachy vibe in your tunes, if you know what I mean, even though it's very singer-songwriter, but I could hear that there is a West Coast influence. Did that specifically come from being there?
I mean, I guess my like in music and like my taste in music, I guess you say, has evolved over the years. And being out there, I mean, I was into Jack Johnson and Amos Lee, and I still am, but I mean, listening to musicians like that and being around musicians that play like that, it did influence me a lot. And I just love that type of music where you're just chilling, and I mean, it could be about anything, but it just makes you feel good because you can relate to it, you know?
Yeah. And so made the move to Nashville in November last year, correct?
Yeah.
So how are you finding Nashville? Like,
I love it. I came through here on tour a few times and fell in love harder each time. The last time was in August of last year, and I always called it musician's paradise because it's, especially if you like country music, and I do, but it's just a place where it's even more tight-knit community, and people are just the nicest people. It's like Northern California, except it's Southern hospitality kind of musicians, and I love it. It's amazing.
I couldn't have imagined it better when that rain started pouring down. Felt like we were in a movie. That song blasting from your truck so loud. I couldn't have written it better if I was gonna write the book. There's something about real life unfolding sometimes, and a kiss from you is all it took for me to fall for West Virginia on a trip away. guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. You couldn't have caught me better if you baited and cast a hook. There's something about real life unfolding sometimes, and a kiss from you is all it took for me to fall for West Virginia on a trip away from Tennessee. Could be the start or the end of a great story. Well, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. Looking up at the stars, wishing distance weren't so far. This night can only last so long, and I didn't need one more song for me to fall for West Virginia on a trip away from Tennessee. Could be the start or the end of a great story. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see.
Let's talk about your social media. You're very active in social media, and you do a lot of other things besides just music. But social media, I know, is such an important thing for independent artists, and some choose to let certain aspects of their life into it, and some don't. You blog a lot, and you let a lot of people into your world. In fact, I've seen inside your house in East Nashville. I mean, so it is incredible. And I know that there are some musicians who try to keep those boundaries and just sort of, this is personal and private, and then this is, me as an artist. Tell me about your decision to kind of just be more open and let people into your world.
Well, I tell everyone I meet, no matter who they are, how close they are to me, I'm an open book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hold anything back. I am who I am. You take it or leave it, And I feel like being a musician and being a songwriter especially, you're putting your life out there, or other influences, but mainly like through your own experience by song, So I'm writing things about my life, so why not just, here it is on the table. You get to know me through song and on Facebook. I have nothing to hide, so. And I like it. It's sort of a freedom that comes with that. I mean, I'm not going to go put my social security number out there or anything, but I mean, here I am,
Well, it's exactly right. I mean, we'd never met until today,
Yeah.
And so obviously I had to do some research. And like I say, I mean, to actually basically be walking around in your house in East Nashville, and I was really surprised because most people nowadays, I know, kind of build that wall. And so it was, it was refreshing. What sort of reaction do you get from your fans from doing that?
I think they like it because the more they know me and my personality, because a lot of them, given social media, they never really meet me. They might just, do the digital thing and buy things on iTunes or whatever, so they never have the chance to come to a show. So getting to know me, I guess online, it's a way to get to know me in person or kind of at a show where, like they feel like they are getting that firsthand experience even though they never really get it. So.
Now, speaking about your shows, we had Jen Bostic on last week on the show, and she's got a massive fan base in the UK, but you tour to Japan.
Yeah.
That must be incredible, and just such, I mean, a weird spot at the same time to go, let's go to Japan. Obviously it had something to do with the naval bases or something, but tell us more about that.
Well, the way I originally got into the Japan touring was my cousin had a book release party down in San Diego, and his roommate at the time, she's Japanese, her name's Sonoko, and she was thinking about bringing an American artist over to Japan for touring. And while I was there, she saw me play, right place, right time, and she's like, we need to bring her over, they would love her. And so ever since then, I've been on 3 tours, and I loved it. It's a different world. You feel like you're a rock star there.
Really? So
Yeah.
tell us about it, because a lot of people wouldn't know. I mean, especially Nashville-based artists who just are scrapping and scraping and trying. I mean, and I'm sure that you've done that same thing, whether it's here or in Northern California. But I know people who play in places like China and places like Japan, and they are treated like rock star royalty.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. So tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily that you're an American or what, but I mean, they love American music. I mean,
they're obsessed with the pop culture,
Yes.
I think. So
Yeah, and they base a lot of their own songs about how we write our songs. I mean, you see Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and like the Beatles, like in pictures everywhere at their music studios, and I mean, obviously some of those are UK artists, but you know, like they love this type of music, and so being an American already kind of gets you like in there. But also, I feel like I don't know, learning Japanese a little bit and being able to relate to them, and I'm their height kind of. I'm short. I need to wear these high heels to be taller. They're just kind of, you know, like have them relate to me. Like, you're an American, but you're short like us. It's so cute, and they laugh, and they're just so cute. So, I mean, they don't pick you up in limos or anything because they don't have those there. I don't think. But you know, they really treat you like, I don't know, like you're like above them, yet you're not. It's just amazing. And I don't like feeling like I'm above anyone. So it's just like they treat you with such respect. That's what they're all
just
about.
that cultural difference, I guess,
Yes.
of the respect. So have you drawn any influences from those sorts of places in your songwriting?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean, just being able to expand my mind and see a totally different world, and really to see how people live. And Japan is so different than here. To see how they live completely different than us, and I don't know, it kind of brings more of like a deeper aspect into my own like character. And I don't know, I feel like I can write, I don't know, write about different things that I never understood before. I mean, I never necessarily wrote a song about Japan yet. I should probably, but but you know, I mean, being able to travel and experience new things, it's like it always expands your mind, so you can come up with new ideas.
The snow is starting to melt and my heart is giving in to what I feel like I'm losing. I thought I'd be warmer as spring starts to come, but my insides are still cold and they're mostly numb. You give me calls around 2 a.m. and I pretend that I'm still sleeping, 'cause I'm too far north for your southern comfort. Your whiskey won't help my hurt. You say we'll be friends, but that just makes it worse. I'm too far north for your southern comfort. I put my heart on your love's hot coals. We almost started a fire before they burned out cold. We didn't take care of the things that we needed to, and it left me traveling north until I didn't need you. You give me calls around 2 a.m. and I pretend that I'm still sleeping, 'cause I'm too far north for your southern comfort. Your whiskey won't help my hurt. You say we'll be friends, but that just makes it worse. I'm too far north. I'm too far north Southern comfort. Your whiskey won't help my hurt. You say we'll be friends, but that just makes it worse. I'm too far north for your Southern comfort. You give me calls around 2 a.m. and I pretend that I'm still sleeping.
We touched briefly before on your songwriting. Let's go a bit more into that. You've released 3 albums so far, and I mean, listening to those albums, as I said, it must be a massive journey to get all the way around to Nashville, having toured in Japan and toured extensively in the US. So I guess now you're in this town that's full of songwriters. Tell me about your songwriting process now, collaborations, and how you feel about it.
Well, I love that when I'm in Nashville, I have more opportunity to co-write with people and expand my mind in that way, because every single person has their own personality and their own way of writing. So you get to write songs and approach the songwriting process differently than you ever have, and it really helps the way I write. And I really am trying to focus more on the country music style, because my goal now is just to focus on songwriting as a career. So being able to be around people that are doing the same thing is just amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible. And it's interesting that you say that obviously somewhere along the lines you've sort of changed from deciding to be an artist to becoming a songwriter. And that happens often when people come to Nashville. I think they fall in love with the town, they fall in love with the craft of songwriting. I know myself, when, you know, being from Australia and traveling extensively as well, especially living in LA, for me, that was a major difference coming here, is just that craft of songwriting. How much have you learnt from being around those Nashville people?
Oh my gosh, I've learned a wealth of knowledge I couldn't have learned in school or books. And I mean, I feel like I'm gaining wisdom with every person I meet, even if they're younger than me or more inexperienced, because they have something to tell you and they have something to show you, that, and a different perspective to show you that you might not have seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward from here, focus is on songwriting. Let's say 2 years from now, where do we see you sitting?
Oh, well, hopefully going down the red carpet. I mean, I would love to win an award for a song I wrote, whether I'm singing it or an artist that's up there in country singing it. Being able to, maybe eventually, not in 2 years, I'm giving myself more time, but in I don't know how many years, being like the songwriter of the year, or you know, something big like that. Because before I wasn't so focused on like awards and being like good in that aspect of it. I just did whatever I wanted, and whatever came out came out. But now I'm like, I have this set goal, and I feel more like a scientist or a mathematician when it comes to songs. And I want to perfect my craft so that I can be successful, and I don't know, just make my parents proud, because they've always supported me. They're always there for me, and it's rare, I see in my friends, that you find parents that are just have your back, and especially when you don't go to college and you pursue music, you know? So I think I'm doing okay so far.
Well, I think that you're doing awesome, and I'm sure that your parents are extremely proud, and we're so thankful for you dropping by, and look forward to seeing what happens in the next 2 years.
Yeah, thank you.
How sturdy is this chair? How heavy is my hair? And how many times do I drift off to think about you when I know we are through? How soft is this dress? How my heart beats on my chest? And how I could use this drink to forget about you. How I wish that were true. All the things you notice when your heart is broken, that you wouldn't notice any other time. the things you want to forget, the things you regret, the lack of your lips against mine, the things I wouldn't notice any other time. How fast I tend to drive, 'cause it makes me feel alive, and how bright this light is coming through my window pane, and it's keeping me awake. All the things you notice when your heart is broken, that you wouldn't notice any other time. The things you want to forget, the things you regret, the lack of your lips against mine, the things I wouldn't notice any other time. How much my feet so wet, and how hard I get when you walk into the room, and how I know there's nothing more that I could say to you. All the things you notice when your heart is broken, that you wouldn't notice any other time. The things you want to forget, the things you regret, the lack of your lips against mine. These things I wouldn't notice any other. These things I wouldn't notice any other time. Any other time. Any other time. Any other time.